Made a very heavy impact on what's going on here today amongst people.
I can tell you that I grew up in the West by the country club, and I'd never been to any of these places. I'd never heard any of this history. It was all coming at me for the first time, and somehow we were invited by blacks and whites to do that together. And I think it's tremendous stretching of the heart, and to lose my stinking superiority forever.
The Negro race among the people of Virginia were to be treated with justice and humanity and with good faith. Now that's what that General Assembly resolution said. Now that's because it's what it said doesn't mean that that's what happened.
At the end of the route, walkers gathered behind the state's General Assembly building and the old City Hall, where they were told about legislation passed between 1866 and 1958 when a segregated society replaced one of slavery. Senator Henry Marsh, Richmond's first African-American mayor elected in 1977, has worked over the years as a leading civil rights lawyer to correct the legislation.
We have to go beyond the legislation and begin to change people's attitudes. And that's where leadership comes in. The people who are in leadership positions have to do those things to break the barriers beyond what the legislation can do.
And all that excess baggage, all that guilt, all that denial that we've been carrying, write it down and then deposit it in the trash can, and we're going to burn it as we proceed into the Capitol grounds. So get your piece of paper out, get your pencil out, and anything that's burdening you, we want you to write it down.
Well, my history is what it is, and I am the great-great-grandson of the guy who shot the first gun of the Civil War. But the legacy he left to me and to our family was one of very minimal expectations for the African-American people. Very little vision, and I want to leave that behind and claim as much vision for the African-Americans I know as I have for others, whether they're white or Asian or whatever.
The Richmond Unity Walk was a 2-mile route, but for many the start of a much longer journey. The walk concluded on the grounds of the state capitol. Gathering there, participants found that beyond differences of race, many shared the same concerns about the past and a desire to take responsibility together for the future.
We have a lot going for us in this city. And I feel very strongly that because of this conference that we had in Richmond, that this city will never be again the same.
It's also wonderful that something like a walk that's difficult in the sun, I mean, it really kind of unites you, and you don't focus on what color you are or where you come from. You focus on how am I going to make it up the next hill. So I think that common stress and strain of going through the process of actually walking and giving up something and sweating in the hot sun and talking about issues is something that gives you a common experience. And I think other cities would need to look for what kind of a common experience can they give people, how can they bring them together.
When you can see the descendants of slave masters, when you can see the descendants of slaves joining their hands and their hearts together to conquer the giants that still are in the land, that to solve the problems that are staggering and towering. When you can see this kind of a unity, it is enough to give us hope and to make us rejoice.
As a Southerner, my family has always been very proud of being farm stock and old Southern aristocrats on the other side, so I've grown up with both. but obviously from a white perspective. So it's been wonderful to mix with people, to meet people from different races, to work with them, and I've worked very hard with them, and that's the best way I know to learn about people. And working with the people I've worked with has taught me so much about myself and about them that it's been invaluable.
It's a story that needed to be told. As people are trying to do business here in the Richmond community and in other communities like Richmond around the country, there are often blocks to communication and blocks to doing business and blocks to successful partnerships. And some of those are grounded in historical occurrences. Many of these occurrences that we don't always want to talk about. There's a need for healing.
I am absolutely convinced that as a result of the Unity Walk through Richmond and the history of Richmond, healing action is going to take place in many parts of the world. The God that brought you through the fires of slavery and the God that has built this amazing and wonderful country, the God of the black people and the God of the white people, the same God, and the God of the whole world. If he has brought the African Americans across this river today, it is for a purpose. If he has made this wonderful country, it is for a purpose. What that purpose is and what the role of the African Americans and the other Americans is going to be is the great question which you will ponder over. I thank this incredible God who has achieved these incredible things.
As a native Richmonder, one who has grown up here and seen all the racial tensions played out, it's been at times very frustrating. And it seems like we've always talked around the issue or not talked about it at all. I write a column for the paper, and one thing I try to do each week is bring it out, get people to talk about it. If you don't talk about it, you can't move toward any kind of solution. So this is one giant step, I think, in getting people to acknowledge and talk about the problem and the responsibility. But the responsibility is to carry forward after the last gavel's been banged and healing the heart packs up and run with it. You know, it definitely shouldn't end. This is just the start, or it should be just the start.
But an important start. For the first time, significant public recognition was given to sites of unacknowledged events in the 370-year history of black-white relations in America. Could Richmond, the city that symbolized racial division, turn that painful history into a national resource for healing the heart of America?
Sometimes I just don't understand the way things go today, and I just don't know how someone could treat someone that way. I wanna know where I can go to lay that burden down. That's when I looked into my heart. Here is what I found. I'll start with my heart. That's where the future is. I'll start with my heart. There's healing when it gives. I'll start with my heart. Our differences ended there. That's what I'll do to get right with you. I'll start with my heart. I'll start with my heart. That's where the future is. I'll start with my heart. There's healing when it gives. I'll I'll start with my heart. That's what I